Well, people, I got my mask on. You know what that means. I'm going to be digging in the dirt. First of all, I'm going to go out here and plant my lettuce bottom. But I'm going to plant it in a different spot this year. I'm going to plant it in my wishing well. I want to see how it'll grow out here. Oops. See if I can get it over here. But first of all, I got to get those moonflowers out of that pot. It only had 5. Moonflower plants coming up in that pot. And we're going to put them right over here in the rock garden. Find a spot in here. Trying not to step on my marigolds. But there. Sorry, I had to pull my britches down. I bend over like that with these shorts and they keep going up on me. But I'm going to take my little lettuce bottom. I mean, you can see all the roots on that. So it doesn't have to root. Let me bring that closer. And I'm just going to put it as deep as the roots are. I don't want the lettuce top under there at all. So now I got my green, I don't know if that was kale or cabbage, my perpetual spinach, which is Swiss chard, and then my cilantro there. And I don't even really have to water that. It rained last night, so the dirt is pretty wet. So now we'll go back over here. Oops. I kick my tripod every time. I'm making a mess on my table. Making a mess on my table. I still haven't decided where I want to put these, but I think they're so pretty. There's 12 of them. I don't know yet. I might put a couple up there, a couple in the front of the rock garden. And right now is really the time to do it since it rained last night. So let me turn this around. You don't want to see my ugly face with my mask. But at least this will keep you from being dizzy, maybe, as I walk around here. Yeah, see, my blanket flowers are drooped down, but hopefully a lot of them will live. And I can transplant some more. I cut a lot of them down, but I didn't cut them all down. Like, I got a patch right there. You can see I mowed around them from the carport over to the edge. And under the crepe myrtle tree, there's a patch, and there at the mailbox. Look at there, who's here? He's found him a nice bed to lay on. It's nice and cool up there on that table. Yeah, it's nice and cool up there on the table. Isn't it, little buddy? He said it's nice and cool up there. But he's doing good. And I don't have to do anything special because I've already got flowers out here. I got some blooming. I thought it would be pretty to have a couple planted. I've got 12, so I can put 3, 6, 9, and then maybe a couple over on this side. You think that'll be okay, little buddy? He went under the tripod. These are some weird looking little bulbs. They look dried out, but I guess they're not. And you don't put them very deep. One. So I put 2 along that front one there. Might put 2 along here somewhere. And mind you, I got marigolds in there, so I don't need to put too much. You know what? I might put another one right there in the front. There's my neighbors. I might put 2 in front here. Because I've got marigolds growing too from seed. Go around here to this side. Put one there and maybe a couple back this way. And I want to put a couple of them up in the 5-tier planter here, because it looks like I got space. I think they'll be pretty here too. You know what? I didn't think to read how far apart to put them, because I don't know how big they get. No, it doesn't say. Oh, here on the front. 12 to 18 inches, summer blooming, excellent for cut flowers. So I guess that'll be okay to put them there. Spacing. Doesn't say how far apart to put them. It just said 12 to 18 inches tall when they're grown. Get a little bit of water, and I need to mark on there what that is. I thought I brought my marker out, and I guess I didn't. Whew. They're ranunculus. I don't even know that I can pronounce it. It's a ranunculus. Ranunculus? Am I anywhere close to being right? But it looks like a pretty flower. Can't wait to see those blooming in there. And let's see what else. Was something else I was going to take out. I got my nasturtium in the top. As you can, as you can see. And they're coming up pretty. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nasturtium plants up there. This is a forget-me-not. I got one little old forget-me-not left. And I was going to see if I could find more seeds to put in there to fill that out with nasturtiums. I'm going to leave my lettuce in the bottom one. Romaine lettuce, because it's doing so good. And then I got that one that I just planted here. And here I think I'm going to pull this red Russian kale out and put it in another pot and plant something else here. I don't know, it just don't seem to be doing too good here for some reason. Maybe it will in time, I don't know. I could leave it. Let's see if we can find forget-me-not seeds. I brought my bag of flower seeds out. I've got another whole bigger bag of vegetable seeds in the house. But I tried to separate my vegetable seed and my flower seed. And I think this was all my flower seed. Whew. And I can take this off right this minute, since I'm not digging in the dirt right now. Hibiscus, moonflowers, marigolds. Red clematis, which I've planted out there already. Zinnias. Maybe I left some of the flower seed in the other one. Nasturtium. Yeah, I think I left some of it in the other one. And this is a Magneta poppy and blue salvia. But I don't know how tall they get. It doesn't say. And this is another poppy mix. A red poppy. And this is an oriental poppy. I think that would be pretty to put in there with the forget-me-nots. It's the oriental poppy. So let's get over here and I don't remember if I planted more seeds in there. I better not add it to this. Well, it says not to cover the seeds. So you know what? I'm going to sprinkle a couple in there and just see if they do come germinate and come up. Try a few of them in there and see what happens. And I can always pull the seedlings out. And this is another red poppy. Like I said, I'm only going to put a few seeds in there because it says not to cover them, just to put them on top of the dirt. And we'll see if they sprout. Because that kale might make it, so I might just leave it there. Had a beetle bug in there. I'm going to go ahead and water these a little because they don't get the rainwater up here unless they wind is blowing. And my aloe vera, it doesn't usually get watered down here, and I forgot about it yesterday. Unless the wind's blowing a little bit, it will. It doesn't take much. Because your aloe vera does not like a whole lot of water. Need to get a new handle on that hose because it leaks a little bit. So I keep a bucket over there to catch the runoff with a little bit of drip. I'd probably cut my water bill just a tiny bit to fix the leak. But it, you know, it only has a drop or two now and then. It's not like it leaks real bad. So I'm not that concerned about it, no. Okay, I'm not that concerned about it. Shedding, good gracious, look at all that fur. Look at all that fur. Look at all that fur. Yeah, look at all that fur. But I can't wait to see some of those come up because they're supposed to be cut flowers too. You can cut them and, you know, they'll keep growing back, putting out more flowers. So I'm anxious to see this, and it's a mixed bunch. You know, they're different colors. They're not all the same color, so that's good too. I might even keep that just so I know what this unmentionable or unpronounceable name flower looks like, and what the name of it is, in case the state gets lost and the flowers come up. And I might want to buy some more next year. Little buddy, you're so skittish, and I don't blame you since you got hurt. But that wasn't going to hurt you. Nope, that was just a box. It was just a box. Yeah. It was just a box. It was just a box. Let this put in the garbage. Oh, let me step in here and get me something to drink. I had to bring little buddy a snack. Here you go. Yeah, everybody's been concerned about little buddy. Well, there he is. You see that he's doing fine. Yeah, he's doing fine. Whew. I hear one or two birds or some kind of creature. I've cleaned my hummingbird feeders and put my nectar out yesterday. So my hummingbirds have fresh nectar. They don't usually want to come if I'm talking. If I'm sitting here being real quiet, they'll fly around. But if I'm talking, they don't usually come by. We'll take a break here with little buddy before I go in and start working on my floor again. I've still got to put the faux planking on it. I've got to put the sealer on it. And then I get to move all that furniture back in the bedroom. Get it out of my living room. It's a beautiful day, little buddy. Yeah, this is his second meal today. He's already had breakfast, so I figured it was time for him to eat again. He's probably getting hungry. Yeah, he was probably getting hungry. I mean, he's still got an ugly looking spot on his neck, but it's starting to heal up. I've been watching it. It does not look infected or anything. And I put antibiotic on it when I can get on it. I need to put some flea and tick stuff on him because he does not wear a collar. I'm almost afraid to put one on him because he'd probably go crazy. To my knowledge, he's never had a collar on. And that's usually what I do with all my cats that I've had in the past is I put flea and tick collars on them. You know, it keeps the fleas, the ticks away, and it keeps the ear mites away from them. But I've got this flea and tick stuff that you put right on the back of his neck. That way he can't lick it off. I just didn't want to do it right now since he just got hurt. He's too skittish. From that, I had all I could do to put the antibiotic on his little wound. So, is that pretty good stuff? Huh? I guess that is pretty good stuff, isn't it? Got a bunch of butterflies flying around. Yeah, sometimes I wished I hadn't mowed down all my wildflowers, but the yard was looking so straggly looking because it seemed like it was taking forever for them to bloom. And I do it every year. I give up just about the time they're about ready to bloom, and then I mow a lot of them down to make the yard look better. But I left my bluebonnets. I mowed around them. I left that one orange looking wildflower. I don't know what it's called, but I want it to drop seeds, so that'll spread. I left all of them in the backyard, except for I mowed a spot through my planters so I could at least walk through without stepping on flowers. But other than that, I left all of them in the backyard. But it starts looking like a jungle. And like I said, I get impatient. I get tired of waiting for the flowers to bloom. And then I feel like, you know, the neighbors are going to complain about it. Which so far they haven't, but And I do have the blanket flowers planted in those green pots out there along the property line. So they're going to drop seeds, so I'll have even more come up next year than this year. So once I get it all full up toward the front here in that corner, next year maybe I'll leave all of them until they bloom, and everybody will see how beautiful this yard will be with all these blanket flowers and all these other flowers blooming, because it will be fantastic. But this year they started looking kind of straggly. I mean, I had plenty in the back, plenty on this side, but out there it was mostly the bluebonnets and those little purple flowers that open. But the plants were getting so big and gnarly looking. That's what was getting me. I didn't like to look at them unless the flowers were open. But they're still there. I cut them down, but the plant is still in the ground, so it will definitely come back next year. And they'll probably come back even thicker next year with me cutting them. I just got something in my eye. But I was going to let y'all spend a little time with little Buddy. Everybody was so concerned about little Buddy. And it does look terrible, but he's healing up. He's healing up. And it's not like you can take a cat and put him in a hospital bed and expect him to stay there, because they're going to go wherever they want to, when they want to go. Sitting here watching the butterflies just scoot along the top of the yard. I hear a hummingbird, y'all. I don't know if you can see the feeder behind me. Yeah, maybe you can see it. Maybe you can see the hummingbird come to the feeder. What you think, huh? What you thinking, little buddy? What you thinking, huh? Yeah, it's still looking good. It's not... He keeps it pretty clean, too. I know when my previous cat got in a cat fight, he got his whole chest ripped open. Just, it looked like somebody took a knife and just right across his chest. And the vet was going to send me home with some medication to put on it. And they said you had to clean it daily. Then you had to pull the scab off, put the medication on. And I couldn't do that. I thought so much of my cat, I couldn't bring myself to do that. I said, I'll be hurting him. And I says, I can't do that. So I left him at the vet's office that week, and they did it. And he was pretty much healed up when I went and picked him back up. But they said with this one, just to keep watching it, keep it clean, keep the antibiotics on it, and he should be good. He's a little skittish since he got in the fight. I mean, it's almost like he's afraid of his own shadow. But he's been calming down. And thank God he trusts me, because otherwise I would not be able to put anything on that wound at all. And that's what the professional said when I called and talked to him. They said, well, evidently he still trusts you, because most of them don't trust anything or anybody after getting in a fight like that. But he trusts you, or you wouldn't be able to put the antibiotic on him. I said, well, you know, he really doesn't want it done, and I just kind of get him in my lap and slip up on him and kind of put it on the wound before he knows it's there, but then he doesn't like it. But it's on there. Yeah, I enjoy just sitting out here watching listen to the sounds of nature, looking at my garden. But here, I'm going to take you out and show you the orange one that I left. It's the only one of its kind that I saw. Wildflower, because of the pictures on the seed bags. And everywhere they usually plant bluebonnets, you see those. They're almost like a bluebonnet, only they're orange. And they're pretty too, I think. But you see, I left all my bluebonnets that I could see, so they'll drop seed for next year and spread. There's like 4 hills of them. There. And right there. And my mums. So a couple of them are starting to open. But yeah, it was starting to look like a jungle. If I'd have just had the patience to wait a few more days, I may have just had flowers opened up all over here. Maybe next year. Like I said, they'll come back. But see, I've got them in here and they're getting ready to open. They'll drop seeds and spread them all over here for next year. And the sunflowers will too. I've got sunflowers planted in these pots with the rose cuttings. So I'll have sunflowers and blanket flowers coming up all along this property line next year. Yeah, I don't think I need to water that. I put water on those yesterday, so the dirt's pretty moist for that lettuce. And my cilantro. I may have to move the cilantro on this backside, put it back here, because it doesn't like too much sun, too much heat. So when it gets hotter weather, I may switch the pots around and put it on the backside. Because see, this is in the shade right now. I could go ahead and do it. Because the cilantro does not like the sun. It was good for the germination of the seeds, for it to come up. But I think I'll put it back there on that corner for now. Put that one up here. That might work a little bit better. So I'll have my cilantro and my cabbage on this back side. But so far it's looking good. It's, you know, it's coming up from seed. So we'll see what it does. And we'll see what our little lettuce root does. I hope it grows as good as the one last year. But you know, last year when I planted, it was getting cooler weather. And it thrived in the cooler temperature. And now we're getting hotter and hotter all the time. So I'm not sure how it's going to do in the heat. We'll see. But if it don't make it, then I'll plant another one when at the end of the summer, when it cools off a little. But look at that. My rock garden here is full. It is so full of everything. And I didn't catch that moonflower. It was open this morning. And these vines, they're growing everywhere. All over my moonflower plants, everywhere. And I've got to pretty soon come out here and separate these little marigolds and look at the whole clump of moonflowers. See, all those are getting ready to open. I wish a bunch of them would open at one time like they did last year. So far, there's only been one open at a time. I'm whittling down my load of garden soil there. Not as big as it was. I still got plans for it. I just haven't had time to get it done. And there's my bearded iris. Look at there. And see, they're falling over on the rose bush. I had a little bit of a frame on it, but I felt like it was kind of getting weak and it wasn't holding anything up. But yeah, I got to pull up some of these on the edge. As soon as the flowers die, I will. And I'll move them down over here where the rose bush didn't make it. And it's full of blanket flowers right now. Look at those. My rose bushes, I don't know, that I love that one back there. That deep pink. Fuchsia, as I call it. I think it's prettier than the pink ones. And I put this chair back here so I could come back here and sit on it sometime, but the wind keeps blowing it over. I guess it's telling me it needs a tub sitting on it. But I don't have another extra tub to put on there, so. Because I've still got some winter squash and stuff that I want to plant. But you know, they're going to put out runners. They're going to run everywhere. And see, I left a bunch of blanket flowers back here. They're opening here. They're all behind the totes, in front of the totes. And that whole patch of them right here. If I'd have just waited till the end of this week, probably half of these flowers would have been open. But I do it every year. I get impatient and I mow them down. Because I feel like my yard looks too straggly and overgrown. But I think if I'd ever just be able to leave it till they bloom, I'd do it every year. And I still don't see my carrots. But my turnips are sure coming up. And my arugula. The purple bell pepper is not coming up though yet. give it some more time, I guess. Because it takes a while for those bell peppers to come up. But I'm loving my tomato plants. And see the purpose of the bag? I can't put them in the ground because that Bermuda grass just would strangle my tomato plants out. So I have to dig a hole, clear it all out of the Bermuda grass, and then put my bag down in the hole, put the dirt in it, and then plant in it. And of course, you know, the moisture comes out of the bag. It helps the grass grow, but at least it's not in there strangling out my tomato plant. And you can see how it's doing over here. If that tomato plant was in the ground, that Bermuda grass would have strangled it out already. So that's the purpose of doing that. It's like just putting a flower pot in the ground to keep the grass out of it. Because like I said, this was the spot that I used for my garden in ground. And everything grew really good. You just had to keep it watered every day, which I can't do now. But then when I got that load of soil, they misunderstood what I wanted. They didn't realize I wanted it for a garden. They thought I wanted it for just the yard, so it had grass seed in it. Bermuda grass seed. Now, if you want grass in your yard, and that's basically all you want, get you some Bermuda grass. Because it'll die down, but it comes back every year. You'll never have to plant grass again. But it's very invasive. You don't ever want it to get in your flower beds or anything like that, because it will overtake your garden bed. And I got weeds coming up in here, but no bell pepper yet. But I know my bell pepper, it always takes a long time to come up. And see, that little vine, it's putting out runners. It's going to grow everywhere. I don't know what to do with it, but I'm leaving it. I'm going to let it grow. I'm going to let it do what it wants to do. Because it's got to be honeydews or cantaloupes or early melons, early dew melons or something. Because that's what I had planted here last year. And I didn't want to plant them here again this year because of the vines growing and taking over. And I don't know where I'm going to put my, I got some winter squash that I haven't planted yet that needs to come out. See, it rained last night and it almost gave me a half a bucket of compost tea down there. Well, I guess I've taken enough of a break. But see, finally, my clematis is starting to climb on this side. Maybe I can keep enough water with the combination of water and compost tea this year that it'll stay alive. And I did put fertilizer to it, so that helps. And this one the same way. And see, I do have a sunflower in each one. And I've got that yellow mandevilla. I got marigolds in there. I've just got a bouquet of flowers in this pot. And they say that's what the clematis love. Their vines love the sun, but their roots, the base of the plant, loves the shade. So they tell you to plant something in the pot with it to give the roots shade to keep them cool. So that's what I've done this year. On this one anyway. But the ones around on the other side of the house are almost in the shade most of the time. But this one is never in the shade. It always gets full sun 24/7. Well, during the daylight hours. So I'm taking them at their word, and I planted everything I could possibly plant in there to go with my clematis this year to give it cool roots and just hope it grows. So we'll see. See, it's starting to look real healthy growing up the vine. I mean, growing up. And see, this type, you don't, even though it dies back and it doesn't come back on the old growth, you don't want to cut your dead vines down. This is where it had traveled up before. Because it gives, even though I got chicken wire on this trellis, it gives it added stuff to climb on. Because you can see it's intertwined in not only the chicken wire, but it's intertwined with the dead vine. The other one, the jacamine, it grows on the old growth. The vine looks dead, but it puts out new leaves on that dead vine. Or you think it's dead, but it's not. And everything here looks wilted right now because it's getting heated up today. But after it, later on this evening, it'll perk back up when the heat goes away. And there goes my rose cuttings. They did real good this year. I'm just hoping they survive the dry spell this summer. I hope they got down deep enough roots that they'll survive. Yeah, I've got every kind of wildflower in there you can think of. Ground cover, wildflowers, blanket flowers. And I don't know if the rose bushes like it or not, but this right here is one of the very first rose bushes I ever planted. The very first ones I planted around on the other side of the house in that big square rock garden. But I don't know if the ground didn't stay moist enough, or they didn't like the ground over there. But they didn't like it in that big square rock garden. I did get one or two to live in the little side one. So I started planting around here. And they love this side of the house. Except for that one that I planted right there that didn't make it last year. But all my other ones, look at that. That needs to be up off of my rose bush. And I put some of my Easter flowers, as I call them, right there. And there's a few blanket flowers because there's not that big a spot to put flowers in. And I got gladiolas coming up because it's right here at the air conditioner unit. And I don't want to plant too much too close to it because it needs to get air. So but anyway, I think little buddy went around on the other side of the house, and he's probably in his swing, taking him a nap after eating. And you know what I'm going to do? I got a bee on my drink. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not making y'all dizzy. But I'm going to sit here and rest a minute. And I'm going to put the camera on that hummingbird feeder. And if I get quiet, maybe the hummingbird will come. Let's give him a chance. Let's sit here and get real quiet. Maybe he'll come back. Because I thought I heard one just a minute ago. They like to come feed when the patio's in the shade, early in the morning or late in the evening. In the hot of the afternoon, sometimes they won't come to the feeder because it's just too hot on them, I guess. And some people in the neighborhood might say, well, somebody must have got on her. She got out there and mowed down her wildflowers. Well, no, nobody said anything to me. Nobody's complained about it. I complained about it. I look out here at my yard and I saw all these plants up and nothing was blooming and it just looked like a jungle of weeds and I was getting disgusted with it. So that's the reason I mowed. Nobody else had anything to do with it. And like I said, I do it every year. I get disgusted. I get tired of waiting for the flowers. And about the time they get ready to bloom is when I give up and mow. But let's face it, I want my yard to look neat. You know, I don't want my yard to look shabby and overgrown, and that's kind of the way it was starting to look. And I got a little bee flying around the top of my drink here, wanting some of my drink. Flying around my head. Flying around the camera. He just got in front of the camera that time. Well, I don't think they're going to come as long as I'm talking. So we've probably been on here long enough for one video. But I left patches in the yard of those wildflowers like I showed you. And I said they're going to start blooming, and everybody that drives by my house are going to see how pretty those flowers are. And they're probably going to wish that I hadn't mowed my yard because I don't have grass. It's all wildflowers that are growing in my yard. I never could get grass to live out here. And I definitely didn't want to put Bermuda grass out, but I've got it whether I want it or not in my garden. I just don't want it to get over this far and get into my rock gardens. Because, oh my God. Because I did get some in this rock garden one time. And it was overtaking my rose bushes and everything else. That's one reason I put some of my rose bushes in great big pots and buried them. Is because I had so much Bermuda grass growing in there. You definitely don't want Bermuda grass in your flowers, your roses, or anything else. Because it will smother them out. But yeah, like I said, in the beginning, I planted the wildflower seed because I couldn't get anything else really to live in my yard. And it was just all rock and dust and dirt. Every time the wind blew, I was breathing dust and dirt. So I said, I got to get something to live out here to settle the dust down. So that's when I started putting out the wildflower seed. And I mean, I didn't buy just a little $2 package at Walmart. I ordered them online. They were in little bags, like burlap bags. And I think I ordered about a half a pound of them. They came in 3 or 4 little cloth bags. Because you know flower seed doesn't weigh a whole lot. So for a half pound of flower seed, that's a ton of flower seed. And I just went around the yard and I just threw it out in the handfuls all over the yard. You don't rake it in, you don't do anything. You just throw it out and let it go. And I'll guarantee you the next year your yard will be full of wildflowers. And they're never usually going to come up where you put the seed out. So I put my seed at the back of the yard, and then the wind would blow it toward the front. Sometimes it will come up where you put it, sometimes not. My bluebonnets never came up where I wanted them. I planted them in the rock garden several times. And yeah, I planted my bluebonnets out there in the corner. I planted those in my rock garden around here beside the carport. I did not have one bluebonnet come up in that rock garden. Every one of the bluebonnets that came up between the rock garden and the carport in the ground where the grass is supposed to be. And I've tried to transplant them. They don't work when you try to transplant them. I know there's some stores that sell bluebonnet plants. But unless you can get that plant out of that pot without disturbing the roots, you have very little chance of that bluebonnet plant surviving. Because if you mess with them roots at all and try to transplant it, I'll guarantee you that plant's going to die. They don't like to be transplanted. But you know, sometimes you can buy a small pot, a plant, and if you want to transplant, you can get the whole root ball and all the dirt intact out of the pot. So you just dig a hole and set it in there and cover it up. So you really haven't bothered the plant itself and the root system other than just sliding it out of that container. Once it breaks apart and you try to transplant it, your guess is as good as mine if it's going to survive, because mine never would. But anyway, my floor's calling me. I got to get in there and finish doing my floor. Because, man, it's going on a week, and my furniture's still piled in my living room. I got to get it back in the bedroom. I can't sit on my couch and watch TV because the mattress and box springs covering the television. So, anyway, I hope y'all have a blessed day. I'll see you on my next one. Bye now.